Leslie Thad Brown.
Hey, Pat.
Good to see you. I guess after seeing the tape yesterday on that last play, what, if anything, would you have wanted to do different?
Other than maybe knock it down. I mean, a whole lot else. I mean, we had three of the guys. If I had three guys to pick to be around the ball, those would be the choices I would make. Just a great play by a really, really good player. Just one of those plays. One of those plays.
Are you caught a little bit in between there because it's almost a Hail Mary situation, but not quite because there's time for two plays, and you do kind of have to defend other parts of the field other than the end zone, although, really the only thing that matters is the 10-yard line and in almost?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because that's exactly what we were talking through during the timeout, that scenario, the fact that, you could possibly get two plays in that situation just to try to get a little bit closer and take a shot to the end zone. So we wanted to handle that as well. But at the end of the day, you want to be in position if they do take a shot to be able to have a chance to contest the ball. And, we were there. Just unfortunately, they were able to make a play.
Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Marcel's supposed to be up. Go to John Scott.
All right, sorry about that. No, I'm right here. Leslie, how you doing?
Good, Marcellus. How are you, man?
I'm good. Wanted to ask about your improvement as a whole since the Kansas City game. It just looking at certain numbers, red zone efficiency, third down efficiency, turnover rate, all have gone up since that Week 6 game. And I know that you mentioned after that was kind of a turning point for you guys. I was wondering if you could clarify what exactly it was about the Chiefs game that has been such a turning point for this defense.
Well, early on, like most teams this year, you're kind of figuring out your team, in our case, our defense, trying to find out what our strengths and weaknesses are, because training camp and no preseason, you have a gauge, you have an idea, but you're still introducing a lot of new players to what you do. But it's probably taken, Marcel, that long for us to really figure out and create a true identity for ourselves. And after that Kansas City game, it kind of, awakened us to some things that we knew we needed to do going forward to really begin to make a difference in the month of November and December. And so we took some of the pluses and minuses from that game and really kind of formulated what we wanted to be able to create as our true identity going into November and December. And I think you're seeing the evolution of that over the last few weeks.
And just for clarity's sake, what's the identity of this defense?
Well, we want to be a defense that takes the ball away. We want to be identified as a defense that can stop the run. We didn't do a very good job of that yesterday for sure. But that's a part of our identity, being a physical defense that can really make it hard for you to run the football and then finding ways to take the football away.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Hey, Leslie, it's John Scott. You led me right into this. Stopping the run has been an issue, even as everything else seems to be trending more so in the right direction. What is it about stopping the run that has been so problematic?
Probably the same things, John, that came up yesterday, and it's been repeated for us, just being able to have good gap integrity, guys being where they're supposed to be, and then tackling better. We didn't tackle as well as we could have. Now, that quarterback, he's pretty slippery. He made some guys miss yesterday, but tackling better and being gap sound, usually ingredients for improving your run defense. And coming out of the bye, that's going to be our goal, to be better as far as having gap integrity, staying in my gap, doing my job, doing my 111, and then making sure we get enough people around the football so we don't get some of the explosive runs that we've been getting of late.
We've heard the phrase gap integrity a lot, even dating back to last year when we'd have these conversations. Yeah. And tackling. Those are the basic fundamentals of things. And I know we've even asked you this question already this season. Why is it that something so fundamental is still being so problematic now that we're 10 weeks into the season?
It's just one of those things, John, from a fundamental standpoint, you continue to harp on and work on. And there have been some games where we've been pretty salty against the run. And then we've had some other games where we weren't as good. But it's something you just have to keep working on over and over again. It's not like you can go live in practice and work on tackling. You're really working techniques and fundamentals off of a look team a lot of times. And you just keep reinforcing and keep reiterating what's important. And hopefully we can get some consistency where we can have a game where we hold a team like Seattle at 57 yards rushing and not go to 200 yards the next week. So we just got to develop some consistency in the run defense.
And last one, I know in the Kansas City game, the game plan was almost asking them to run the ball and you were trying to take away the deep. How much of that played into yesterday and maybe some of these other performances where you've had trouble, at least statistically, stopping the run?
Not so much yesterday. I mean, our goal going into it was to limit their run game as much as we could. They were the number one rushing team in the league going to the game, and they surpassed their average against us. That's not what we wanted to see. So we didn't go into the game with that strategy of let's make them throw the football. We wanted to be able to defend the run and yeah, we wanted them to be a passing team, but not giving up 200 yards rushing.
All right. Thanks, Leslie. Enjoy the week.
Thanks.
Hey, Leslie. I wanted to ask about Dane Jackson. Second straight time he's come in relief and looked really, really good. I mean, probably better than anybody's wildest expectations for a rookie 7th round draft pick. And going back to training camp, some of the things that at least I saw was a guy that was still trying to kind of find his base, his ground, like getting up to speed with everything. But what we've seen on the field on Sundays when he's been able to play has been unbelievable. So just can you speak to that, like the circumstances of which he's been asked to come in and perform and how well he's performed?
Yeah, I mean, you hit on some key points, in particular this past weekend. I mean, he had very few reps during practice because we were getting Josh back and, there we are working Levi in and getting our rotation going. And so he got very little practice with the starting defense. And all of a sudden, Saturday, as we're heading to the airport, we find out that Levi's not going to be able to play. Josh is not going to be able to play, and Dave Marlowe and some of our other players as well. And so we have to go to Dean. We talked to Worley as well. And to Dane's credit, even though he wasn't getting the reps, he was paying attention in meetings. He was getting the mental reps in practice. And for him to go out and play the way he played yesterday, just very, very impressive. And I know our secondary coach, John Butler, spent a lot of time with both he and Daryl on Saturday night and just making sure they were up to speed on the game plan. But neither one of those guys had really any reps. So for Dane to go out and perform at the level that he did against some very, very good wide receivers, very impressive, very impressive.
And, Ed Oliver, we talked a couple of weeks back about, how he was fighting through that knee and, you expected when he got through that, you're going to start to see that arrow go up again. What have you seen over the course of the last couple of weeks? Because it seems like, fair or not, there's been some frustration with the lack of, tangible numbers, from the fan base. But from your perspective, how has he been playing?
Yeah, he's still a disruptive force in there. Just like you said, he hasn't been able to put together those splash plays or those statistical numbers that people are so anxious to see. But he's been a disruptor. I mean, people have to pay attention to him on the interior. He's getting off of blocks and hustling and making some of those splash plays that don't end up in the statistics. But he's doing a good job for us. And eventually, those statistics will come. But as long as he's been a disruptor inside and creating some pass rush, there are times where he's getting a push to get the quarterback off his spot, but that doesn't show up in the stat lines. But he's doing a lot of good things for us.
Thanks a lot, Leslie.
Yes, good afternoon, Coach. George Radney, Challenger Community News.
Hey, George.
First question I have for you. Dane Jackson, I know he played at the University of Pitt. Did they play a similar defensive system to what you're implementing here in Buffalo?
Yeah, they were in-your-face type of defense. I mean, he played some press, but he played some off as well. And that was one of the things we really liked about his game. He had the versatility to be able to line up on the line of scrimmage, but also play some off coverage. And they mixed in some zone with some man. So it was we thought it would take him some time to come along, George, which is one of the reasons he was a 7th round pick. Mm-hmm. But, things kind of changed along the way to thrust him into a role much bigger than what we expected.
Right.
And like I said earlier, to his credit, man, he's been able to handle it, and just kudos to him. I mean, I don't think any of us expected in his rookie year he'd go out and play as well as he has under the circumstances that he came onto our team with and what he experienced in training camp. So hard worker, tough guy, made some good tackles for us. I mean, you saw the play in the red zone against one of the premier receivers in the league. Just no fear. He's a good player.
Yeah, he fits right in. He looked like he's been playing 2-3 years in this system.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Very impressed with him.
Yeah.
Have you played or coached in a game that ended like that on a Hail Mary play in your career?
I coached in one that wasn't exactly a Hail Mary, but one that ended on the last play. But I can't say a Hail Mary. No, that was that probably was a first. Tough one to swallow, but you got to be able to move on.
This were a good example for you to tell the guys the game is not over until it's over?
That's exactly right. It's a 60-minute game, and you're right. It's not over till it's over.
And last question for you. What happened to holding, offensive holding? It seems like they got the defensive holding down pat. They call that all the time. To me, some of it is really suspicious. But what happened to the holding on the offensive lineman? It's very rare that you see it this season.
Yeah, and George, I have to be careful what I say about the officiating. I'll let you speak for both of us on that. But we have to keep playing.
They didn't send a memo out or anything saying they're going to ease up on certain calls just to clean it up a little bit. They didn't have any memo or nothing like that before the season that they're going to have certain calls may not they may not call it as often or maybe they changing the technique of what they calling
right.
for example, like holding.
Right. Not that I'm aware of. You hope that the officials will call what they see, and they've got a tough job for sure. And you hope that it balances out over the course of time. But I'm not aware of any memo regarding that.
All righty. Well, thank you. And hey, have a great week. And I know it's no vacation, but hey, we'll catch you next week.
All right. Thank you, George.
All right. That's all for today.